I'm Mike, N2MAK, and we're out at the park for a POTA twofer at the Genesee Valley Greenway State Park and Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor. I'm going to be using a linked Rybakov antenna for the first time. Let me tell you all about it. The Rybakov antenna has a 25-foot radiating element. I simply decided to add another 25 feet with a link. The thought was that this should help it perform better on lower bands like 80 meters and 40 meters. It was a simple project and just required a pair of connectors and a S-beaner to link the two elements. I'll set the antenna up in an inverted L configuration. Since I'm using a mast for the vertical element, I'll need to use a throw line to get the horizontal element up in a nearby tree. All right, here's the setup. We're using the MFJ 33-foot drive-on mast. The first link of the Rybakov is 25 feet, and that's going to go up, not quite all the way. And then the other 25-foot link goes over into the tree. You're not going to be able to see it that well. Got the Weaver cube and throw line that I use to get the linked element up. And you can see cones marking off the radials. I'm using 6 17-foot radials. The radials and the element are going into the green LDG 4-to-1. Then there's a short 3-foot jumper that goes to the LDG blue 1-to-1 on again the Rybakov. It's a random wire antenna. There's going to be common mode current. Got a short run, about 8 feet of coax RG8X that's going into the car. That's hooked up to the MAT 705 Plus tuner, which is connected to the ICOM 705. We'll use a battery so we can get the full 10 watts. All right, we'll start on 80 meters. Click the PTT to tune up. Let's see what the SWR is here. All right, tuned it up fine on 80 meters. I had no luck on 80 meters single sideband, so I decided to try FT8. But the computer and radio kept locking up from RFI. The same thing happened when I tried FT8 on 30 meters using the ICOM 705. All right, 60 meters, it tunes up fine. All right, let's see how it tunes up on 40.
QSL, you're about a 5 and 4, 54 PA. Thanks for the twofer.
Tunes up good on 20.
Roger, roger, Mike, you're 5'8", Central Illinois.
All right, good SWR on 17. And that's without the tuner.
Roger, roger, you're 5555, Mississippi.
All right, we got the tuner back on. Both green lights are on. Got it on 15 meters. There's a look at the SWR there.
QSL, we have UF57 here in North Texas today.
All right, on 12 meters. Let's see here. The SWR is under 2, not the greatest.
Okay, thank you for 55. You're 5 by 2, 52.
All right, 10 meters. Click to tune. Tune it up. All right, check the SWR, and that's way off. November 2, Mike Alpha Kilo testing. All right, we are not having any luck on 10 meters. I've tried a couple times tuning it up. It's just not able to find a good match. I'm getting SWRs 3 or higher. Not really sure what it is, but for whatever reason, the tuner does not like it on 10 meters. All right, let's see what this will do on 6 meters. Let's check the SWR. No luck. All right, just because, let's see what this does on 160. All right, time to check the SWR. Figures. Wasn't expecting much. We've got the ICOM 7300 out now. We'll see how that does with the linked Rybakov antenna. The ICOM 7300 only has an internal 3-to-1 tuner. However, if we put it into emergency mode, we'll get an enhanced tuner, but we'll be limited to 50 watts. Able to tune it up fine on 80 meters. All right, we're on 60 meters. Check and see how that tuned it up. Just fine. Check the SWR on 30 meters. All right, that should work. All right, got some good news on 30 meters. We got it tuned up, and when I was using the tune function over there on WSJTX, it wasn't locking up the radio, so I think we might be okay for FT8. We'll give it a try. Transmitting out. I'm doing 10 watts. I got about a 1617 SWR. No ALC there. We'll see if anyone comes back. All right, we got one. It worked. All right, we're going to try FT8 on 6 meters. There it goes. No ALC. See if it works. No surprises, not hearing anybody, not getting anything. So we'll jump to another band. All right, we're on 10 meters. The MAT 705 Plus tuner wouldn't tune it on 10. So let's see what it does here with the emergency mode tuner. All right, check the SWR after tuning, and the emergency mode tuner had no problem tuning it.
QSL, you're about a 5-4 into Park 3457, QSL.
All right, checking 17 meters here with the 7300. The MAT 705 tuner did not like it, but I was still getting a 1516 SWR. So this is outside of emergency mode. You can see up here. Let's see what we're looking at here. Yeah, pretty good. That's like a 1.3 or so SWR. All right, and I'm going to see what the internal tuner, the 3-to-1 tuner, does. This. All right, let's check the SWR now. And it tuned it flat.
Okay, Mike, you are impossible. Wow, you are doing an unbelievable job.
So what'd you think? The Rybakov antenna has definitely been full of surprises for me. It's actually why I waited a day or two before kind of giving you my final thoughts. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the wigglies. The good. 7 bands from a single antenna. Maybe I could have gotten more. Maybe I just had to do a propagation that day for 80 or 60. Maybe I wasn't out early enough or late enough. But 7 bands from a single antenna, I'll take that. Especially since my N1CC award for POTA is something I'm chasing after. So I like the option of being able to get multiple bands from an antenna. Also, I made 33 contacts, most of which were QRP with just 10 watts. I'll take that any day. And lastly, this was a really easy project to do. Even for somebody with soldering skills like me, it was just a matter of real quick solder on the link connectors, tie some knots in the wire, and use an S-beaner, and boom, there you go. It was a real easy project to add on the extension for the Rybakov. All right, and now for the bad. I spent a lot of time calling CQ on 60 meters and 80 meters, and I had no luck. Maybe it was the time of day, propagation, like I mentioned earlier. Maybe it was the fact I was just running 10 watts in QRP and it just wasn't cutting it. But either way, that was disappointing because I made the antenna with the lower bands in mind and I didn't really have any luck there. But maybe next time. I got to try it again, different time of day, maybe take it out for a late shift POTA activation. Also, I was surprised that the MAT 705 Plus tuner really did not do a good job with this thing on the higher bands. It got lousy SWR on 6 through 15 meters. It didn't have any luck whatsoever on 10 meters. Maybe that's a function of the lengths. Maybe I'm not using a good length, and maybe an extra foot or two would have made a big difference in being able to find a match. But nonetheless, it was still kind of disappointing. Although that said, this is a linked antenna for a reason, and the link is supposed to help it perform better on the lower bands, and then you take the link off, and I'm sure I would have done just fine on the higher bands if I had done that. But I wanted to test it with the link and see what it could do, and now we know. Then lastly, this is kind of tricky to deploy. It's going to take a few extra minutes because setting it up in an inverted L is going to require multiple supports. I used my my MFJ mast for the vertical element going up 25 feet, but then I had to go over another 25 feet to a tree, and I had to use throw line to get it up there. So if you don't have two masts, it might be a little bit tricky trying to find a place to set it up, but it's certainly not unreasonable. And now for the wigglies. So this antenna was designed for the lower bands, but it had really good SWR from 17 meters all the way down. Now on 17 meters, this thing kicked butt for me. And I had really good experience with the traditional Rybakov on 17 meters as well. With the link now, it's performing very similar to a full wave antenna. On 20 meters and 40 meters, two of the very common bands, we're seeing 20 meters, it's going to perform similar to a 3/4 wave antenna, and then it's going to be like a 3/8 wave on 40 meters. Those bands you should get really good low takeoff angles, which would be helpful for DX if that's something that you're interested in. Now, I'm not an antenna expert. I just like to mess around, try new things, see what works, what doesn't. That's how I learn. Experimentation's a big part of our hobby. If you want to learn more about the Rybakov, definitely check out the YouTube channels for Tim, G5TM, Walt, K4 OGO from Coastal Waves and Wires, and Morton, LB0FI. All three of them got great channels, and they've done a lot on the Rybakov antenna. I'll leave links in the description down below. I actually got the idea for this from Coffee and Ham Radios, so shout out to the guys at Coffee and Ham Radios. When I was checking out their link dipole, I thought, hey, why don't I just add a link to a Rybakov antenna? Let's see how this does on the lower bands if we make it a little longer. I had fun doing this experiment, and I actually learned a lot too. I hope you did too. If you haven't already, please click like, subscribe to my channel, and if you got comments or want to share your experiences with the Rybakov antenna, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike, N2MAK 73. Aren't you glad we did this?